Hey, what's up, guys? It's Josh with Paparazzi Imaging and Films. This is a Vignette podcast, episode 14, and we have Dan Hegman. He was happy to join us on this podcast, and we're happy to have him on. So we were chatting before the podcast, getting some info, getting some intel on what we thought about the whole snowcross season and stuff like that. So we're going to jump right into it. Finding info on you was very, very hard. There is very limited stuff.
Well, yeah, you got to figure I raced from 1995 to 02, which is not pre-internet, but pre-consumer internet. There's a lot going on with snowcross. So there's not much. You have to find a snow week. You have to find some paper copies. And to be truthful, we didn't race a lot of nationals. And, I mean, we did, but it was just a different era back then.
Mm-hmm.
My family and I, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of snowmobile racing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So like WSA had a district program, they had a regional program, they had a national program. So my dad would take me racing to all the nationals close. We'd go to Deadwood, and we went to Deadwood once. We never went to New York or stuff like that, but we'd run Canterbury and Spirit and whatnot. And then the regional series was actually pretty legit back then too. They did like Kimball, the ski hill in Kimball had a really big regional. We did stuff like that, and then we raced districts. So we raced almost every weekend, but it was kind of spread out to different series and stuff like that.
Huh.
And you know, my biggest claim to fame is like, you know, I was in a climb ad, which is up on the wall there, and you know, that was really about it. Actually, I was the first climb snowcross racer.
That's a pretty cool thing.
Which not anybody knows but me. So.
Well, besides me now.
Yeah, there it is, framed up on the wall.
That's wicked cool.
So, yeah, it was, there's not a lot out there about me. We kind of flew under the radar. We were a small family team. And
right on.
we had good, decent finishes. And
any championships?
Regional series, district series, never national.
Okay.
No.
Hey, close? Did you come
No,
close?
because we never finished them. We never got them all.
You only did so many.
Yeah, we only, like I said, went to the ones that were close and we could afford. So.
Yeah. So what kind of kickstarted your career, though?
So we were avid snowmobilers. My family, we went out west and stuff like that growing up.
Like everybody?
Like everybody. I turned 16, and my dad's like, this kid needs something to do. So, like, you know, most dads would keep me out of trouble. So we bought one sled. I actually think I had this sled. It was a 440 fan. And we raced the Albertville ice hockey race back then. And that's kind of what kickstarted it for 9 years, whatever we raced.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And then you retired at what? You said 02?
Yeah, so Canterbury of 02 was my last, no, Canterbury of 03, sorry, was my last race. So my oldest daughter was born in November of 02.
Okay.
And we raced a little bit. That was the only year I raced the Ski-Doo. We went to Canterbury. I qualified into the final in semi-pro. And there was a double in the back that was just gnarly big. Like, it was everything you could do to clear it.
Yeah.
And so I got this little girl. She's 2 months old. And, like, I got to work, and lined up for the final on Sunday. And the green flag, you know, we had flags back then, no lights.
Yeah.
The flag dropped. Everybody took off. I pulled off. I didn't even do the final.
What?
Yeah, I completely had psyched myself out.
Wow.
Because, like, the responsibilities of being an adult. So
Yeah.
I pulled off, and my dad was saying, he's like, what's up? I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this.
Wow.
He's like, all right. We packed up and went home.
Holy.
Sold the trailer the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was no big deal. It was over. So.
Well, yeah, and you kind of grow up at a certain point, and you realize that, you know, there's more to life than just racing.
Right.
You know,
it
like
was
you
just,
said.
I continued to race moto and kind of more calm.
Yeah,
atmosphere.
not as what would you say?
Extreme.
Yeah, extreme.
Yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't race them enduros and hare scrambles and stuff like that. So.
That's pretty cool that you still stayed into
Yeah.
into the racing and riding portion of it, but just not as very competitive.
Right. Yeah. So we went back to trail riding. We went back to going out west. Did stuff like that.
Did you do a lot of mountain riding too, or no?
Yeah, we'd go out we like Togety. We went out to Togety every year. Mm-hmm. My dad and I and Grandpa.
Yeah.
So it was always a family trip out there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's like even mountain riding now everything's escalated. Guys are out there 6-7 times a year and all that. We never did that.
Right.
It was a week-long vacation out to the mountains. So.
Right. Once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. And that was way back in the 90s, you said, and you were on the 440s,
Yep.
You mentioned, racing the era of the Hibbert coming up,
Yep.
right? The Hibbert, Toby Ashley, Steve Hansen.
Yeah.
How was that era back in the day?
It was what Hibbert are you talking about? Kirk or
Kurt, yep.
It was fun. It was different. It wasn't, like that era, that mid-90s, it wasn't so glitzy. Mm-hmm. It was, some big open trailers. I mean, I had a 24-foot enclosed trailer, and a lot of times I pull on, that would be the biggest trailer there.
Wow. Baller.
Yeah, it was just, it was different. It's funny, Steve Hansen, we ran into him up at Aurora. Mm-hmm. He was up there. I hadn't seen him for years. Got to chat with him a bit, but yeah, it was a good time. It was, like I said, it was just different, not so glitzy and more
laid back and blue collared, right?
Yeah, laid back and blue collar. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's still blue collar now. I mean, you look at the teams; all the team owners are working. They're just really good at either digging in the dirt or
right.
whatever they're doing.
100%.
That's big time. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Would you say that it was better back then than it is now? Because now you're wrenching with your son. You're going to the races. You were on a professional team this past season. So would you say it's more fun, less fun? It was better back then when you raced, or is it better now?
I don't know, because I think as I've evolved as a person, so if you go back to I didn't really have great big giant goals. Mm-hmm. We just went snowmobile racing because snowmobile racing is fun.
Yeah.
Now, I feel it's really stressful, but you got to remember, Dom has got different goals than I do, because he wants to be, since he's been 4 years old, he's been racing. Mm-hmm. I didn't start racing until I was 16.
Right.
So he's got goals of becoming
a champion and
right. And getting yourself aligned with the proper people is so important. It can be stressful. So to answer your question, I think, they're equally fun. It's a little more stressful for me nowadays, but maybe that was the stress my dad carried. Mm-hmm. So comparing it, because now I'm taking care of him versus just being the dumb kid running around riding the snowmobile.
Right.
So I think I had more fun back then, but they're different roles now. Mm-hmm. So.
For sure, yeah, and you got to be a dad, you got to be a team manager,
right.
You got to go through the whole logistics of doing contracts with him that he may not understand,
right?
That you didn't have back in the day.
No,
there was no contracts. It was just like shake hands and
hands, and you had to apply for a race sled and stuff like that. And that's kind of a funny story too with me. On a side note, you applying for a race sled. When I turned 18, I bought my first dirt bike, and my dad was completely against it. So he was like, "What are you gonna do with that?" So I went to Larson's, bought the bike, came back to the shop, and he's like, "I'm not getting involved with this dirt bike racing. We race all winter.
Right.
This is just dumb." I'm like, "Well, okay, it's good. It's good to be racing dirt bikes." Right. And so I went to Cambridge for my very first dirt bike race, C class, and getting ready to go, and he showed up.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Oh,
he showed up. He's like, "So what is this all about?" And he goes, "Did you have to, you just bought the dirt bike?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can just go to the dealer and buy him. You don't got to apply or nothing." He's like, "Oh, okay." Well, my dad hung around that day, and after that, he was hooked on motocross. Absolutely loved motocross. Loved everything about it. We went dirt bike racing every weekend through the summer.
Wow.
For quite a few years.
You transitioned him real quick.
Yeah, he liked it because there was no drama in motocross. Mm-hmm. You were who you were. You bought a bike.
And you went racing.
Yeah. There's 42 dudes on the line. back then in C class.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 12th. You felt like you won the championship.
Right. Right. And sometimes you don't even make it in. You have to go through the LCQ, or you don't even.
Yeah,
you know?
it was a different vibe. He really liked it. So
That's
then it
cool.
ended up being. I know we're getting sidetracked here, but
It's okay.
then it ended up being we started bringing our big trailer to the dirt bike races, and then a bunch of our snowcross buddies came, and he got a kick out of that. He'd get up and make us all breakfast, and
That's sweet.
take care of us all, and so it was good vibes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So he supported you in snowcross and
Yeah.
moto.
So my dad and I were super tight until the day he died. He died a couple years ago,
Oh, I'm sorry. to hear that.
and even when we were done racing, we talked every day at 5 o'clock. I called him. We just talked about this, that, or so. Yeah, he was a big part of my whole program and Dom's program. Even when Dom was up until the day he died, he helped out every way he could. Bought bikes, did this, came to the races, took him training because he retired. So my dad was available to go riding during the work days.
Right, when you had to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool that he was involved. And I had no idea that you were, that you were raised here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know, I like to ask that question sometimes.
yeah, so it was. I grew up in Maple Grove.
Wow, super close.
Yeah, and then we moved to Rogers, or that's where I first. Dom grew up in Rogers, and then we transitioned out to here about a year ago. This was actually the shop that I raced out of.
Really?
This was my mom and dad's place. My dad passed away, and then we took over the property.
Wow.
So
there's a lot of history here.
yeah, this was the
Not just pictures, but there's a lot of teamwork
Yeah.
done here.
Yeah, this has been the shop.
Family development. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's huge. And now you're bringing that into Dom and the rest of the family.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And
So
you said before the show that he's into suspension work now on
yeah,
dirt
he
bikes.
just opened up a suspension service company for doing motocross bikes, and that's going very well with him. He did a bunch of training down in Florida, and he's got some good people behind him and backing him, and
That's good.
yeah, it's
That's awesome.
going good for him.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's, I always liked Dom. He's a really cool dude. He's always fun to hang around with. He's always loving the camera
Yeah,
when I'm shooting him and stuff like that. He's always have a smile on his face too, so it's cool.
Yeah, he's got good vibes for the most part.
Yeah, 100%.
I've seen a few negative vibes, especially after last winter, but whatever.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us, right?
Yeah.
Just like you on your last race, you're just like in your head, you didn't want to do it
No,
anymore.
all
so.
done. I'm not doing that anymore. We got better things to do. Let's go home and watch NASCAR.
Oh, you're a big NASCAR guy?
It's it's something. It was something to do.
That's funny. So, getting back on track, when you raced, you were on Cat, right? Yep.
Big Arctic Cat guy.
Pretty much your whole career, right?
Yeah, our family was my dad was an Arctic Cat fanatic. So even to the point, like, Arctic Cat went out of business in 82 and 83.
Yeah.
And in 1984, he went and bought Arctic Cats to help them.
Wow.
Even like in 1984, their sled was not as good as the Polaris. But, he was a diehard Arctic Cat guy. About one or two a year, every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So then when I raced, I actually worked at the Arctic Cat dealer in Osseo, Minnesota back then. So that's just what we did. It was all Arctic Cats.
And that led through.
Yeah, so even all my trail sleds have been Arctic Cats. And what kind of funny was, like, when we started racing snowmobiles, so we didn't decide to race snowmobiles that first year till like January. It was kind of a last minute. So I was trying to find a used snowmobile, but that was the year that Arctic Cat didn't build race sleds.
Yeah, you had to buy the year previous.
Yeah, there wasn't an Arctic Cat to be bought.
Right.
I couldn't find one. So Scott Hulla had a couple Ski-Doos. I bought one of his. And we raced that. And then the next year I just applied for a Ski-Doo because I had one.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'll just get another one because you're on juniors.
Right.
And that's kind of what got us into the whole Ski-Doo thing. And then back to Arctic Cat last year. And
Right. So that had to be a hard pill to swallow, transitioning from Arctic Cat to Ski-Doo a little bit, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit, but we wanted to go snowmobile racing, so it is what it is. And actually, the bonus of when we did decide on the Ski-Doo is we lived in Rogers at the time, and the Freelands live in Corcoran, which is very close.
Yeah.
And Dom and Drew are good buddies. So Jason Freeland was a big help. Like I could call him with stupid questions. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Like, this doesn't make any sense. And he kind of put me back on track and get me through my dumb questions. So it helped out a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it was an adaptive stage to work with the Skidoos because they are completely different platforms.
Oh yeah, I remember the first time I took a motor out of one to have it rebuilt. It took me half a day.
Oh my God!
And I
you could pull a motor out of a car easier than that.
I just had no idea what I was doing. So, and also that first year I didn't realize that the bolts came loose that much. So we broke this and broke that, and
right.
It was a big learning curve.
Jeez, and going back to Arctic Cat, how was that?
It was a different. That's a deep question. We obviously Dom was supposed to go into Pro Light, and it was hard working with Arctic Cat's a little bit behind on getting stuff out.
Yeah.
So there definitely presented its troubles, and what I had envisioned in my mind on how things should be going, it wasn't going that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. So working with Krajicek originally, it just didn't vibe really. He could ride the sled around pretty decent, but it didn't really work with that original setup. And then we ended up with all finish, and
right.
That worked for the most part. I mean, we had our struggles, but Dom and the Arctic Cat for some odd reason didn't seem to mesh. Like that thing wanted to kick his ass every weekend. It felt like.
Interesting. Is it just the way the chassis was set up compared to because he was on Skidoo?
Yeah, he rode the Skidoo just great. I mean, that first year in sport, we ran second in points until he broke his back, and it was fine. And then I don't know. I can't tell you what the problem was. We tried all year to figure it out.
Right. And
I've never seen him struggle that much. So I don't know if it was. I can't really blame the sled. I just think it was the combo of the two. It just didn't work for him.
Right.
Because I can see, people ride them fast.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, agreed. I think if he would have started on the Cat and he didn't go to Skidoo, and this is just my opinion. It's not. I don't know what you guys feel on this, but if you look at Jacob Yerk or Daniel Benham or any like Tucker Hibbert compared to two, they started on Cat, and they already know how that sled feels. They've gone through the trials and tribulations. I think with Dom. And you can even compare it to Daniel Benham again with him going to Skidoo. He had a good first year with Warner's, and then he kind of tailed off.
Yeah.
He got an injury. But nevertheless, it's like if you're comfortable on one sled, you're going to be comfortable on that sled no matter what.
Yeah.
It's hard. You look at Trent Whitwer going to Polaris.
Yeah.
He did not jive with that sled at all. And I don't, it might be his wrist that he had that was hindering him, but there's still. It's a totally different platform.
Right. And that was an error on our part because in the moto world, Dom's raced motocross since he was 4 years old, and we've switched bike brands in the middle of the season. And, 15, 20 minutes on the bike, he adapts, he goes.
Right.
So we had this mentality like, well, it's a snowmobile, we'll ride it.
Right.
And that's probably a mistake on our part, but we're new to this. We didn't.
Yeah.
Last year was our third year racing snowmobiles, so you learn something. It's not that easy. Not that easy to switch back and forth.
Definitely not. And you've told me that there's news that's going to be coming out. I don't want to announce anything. I don't want you to announce anything, but there will be an announcement coming from you guys soon enough. There's announcements every freaking day on the snow. It's crazy how many announcements there are. Silly season is I think, better than motocross right now. You
It's
know,
fun. It's fun, especially then you start hearing rumors and you reach out. Is this true? Oh, I can't say.
Right. I know. I'm in the ear with Levi Injured all the time. I'm like, what's going on? You know, is Elliott going with you guys? Is he staying with Dean? Is he going to be riding by himself? You know, he's like, well, I can't tell you anything because I don't know.
Yeah, I think everything kind of got delayed, and yeah, it's definitely an interesting time of the year, and it is fun though. It's fun to see the excitement. I like seeing new teams. I saw a new team came up out of Michigan, maybe it was
The Elite Motorsports.
Yeah, it's neat to see people that excited about. I mean, I wish if I had the funds, I'd have a team. I'd have a hauler. I'd have the whole thing.
Right.
I love racing. I love being at the track. I think it'd be super cool.
100%. I think that's why everybody gets into it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's funny because I've had dads that go, oh, you ready to get out of here at the end of a weekend? I'm like, nah.
I want to stay.
I want to stay. This is where my friends are.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, I dig it.
And you've been in it for so long too.
Yeah, it's my whole life.
Exactly. So why wouldn't you want to stay at the track? You know what I mean? And it's the environment, like you said. You got your friends there. I like to be at the races. When I'm not at the races, it's like, what am I going to do with myself? I go into a state of depression. Right. You know?
It's just, even the people I talk to when I'm out working, I travel out for work, and I get on the phone and I talk to this race dad or this team owner, and I talk to everybody and shoot the shit. And yeah, it's good. I like race people.
Yeah, 100%.
For the most part. There's a few bad eggs, but
more good than bad,
more
right?
More good than bad, yeah.
You can weed out the bad ones.
Yeah, you just stay away.
So the deal with, maybe you don't want to talk about it, maybe you do, but the deal with Kraychek, what was the deal with that? Because there's a lot of rumors going around.
You know what? It just was a conflict of personalities.
Okay.
It would be the best bet. And now as I looked at it in the outside looking back, Arctic had kind of put them in a position because we didn't have sleds.
Yeah.
Which makes it very hard for a team to be prepared when they don't have the product to prepare.
Right.
And they had a very nice practice sled for us. I mean, but what I was concerned about was Dom going to Pro Light, and without the lack of preparation, which wasn't their fault because there wasn't sleds and it wasn't really Arctic. It's nobody's fault. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it just was a personality conflict. I didn't like some things that was going on, and they didn't like some things that was going on, and I generally communicate, and it finally got to a point where it was a breaking point, and we just went our separate ways. And I talk to Dave every once in a while now, and it is what it is. And so that kind of left us, like, when the thing was everybody thought that we, like, all Finnish pursued us to leave Kraychek to race with them, and that is completely not true. When we left Kraychek, we weren't going racing.
Okay.
We didn't have a plan B. There was no plan B.
Huh.
Because, I was maybe buying some used sleds, but the day that we cut ties,
it was it.
There was.
You guys weren't going to line up.
We weren't going to go racing. Huh. That's where I was at. So it looked like All Finnish was like trying to get us, and they weren't.
Right.
There was not even any. It escalated quickly.
Right.
After that, but.
Yeah, the rumor was that you guys went up to Fargo to practice with them, right?
Yep.
To practice at the track, and then it's water under the bridge now, but it was Kraychek got upset that you had your sled or their sled in the All Finish.
Yeah, it was in the warming hut.
Yeah, but what does that matter? It was just Dom was up there by himself. He needed to get the shocks unthawed. Yeah.
They probably shouldn't have been in there. They weren't looking, though. It was just Danny Benham and a couple of the riders, and they were just helping each other out. It was friends. And so, there was a...
And you guys are friends with the All Finish guys.
Right, yeah.
And why wouldn't one Arctic Cat team want to play with another Arctic Cat team to combine the two forces? You look at all the Polaris teams, they all play together.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's not that same vibe. There's no funny business going on up there. They were just practicing and getting warm, but
Right. 100%.
it is what it is. They didn't like it, and I respect them for not liking it, and
It is what it is.
it is what it is at this point. Yeah, it was an ugly situation there, but
No, whatever.
whatever.
Yeah. Shit happens, right?
Yeah, shit happens. Yep.
How did with you saying that you guys just cut ties with Kraychek
Yeah.
and then you weren't going to go racing?
Yeah.
You said there was no plan B, but how did the all finish deal happen?
Well,
You mentioned before the show that it was a handshake, right?
yeah. So Dom is really good friends with the Onsteads. Mm-hmm. He works with Wyatt, their kid on motocross, and they just brought us in. They didn't, and we figured it out. It wasn't anything overcomplicated. It was just them helping us to get going racing.
Right.
So, no contract, no nothing. They were extremely generous, helped out every way they could, made us feel part of the team.
Right.
It was good vibes.
That just tells you right there that the team was awesome to be around.
Yeah.
You know, because who else are they just going to be like, oh, well, we see that you don't have a rider, you're going to go racing.
They're really good people, and like I said, the whole thing was a positive experience. Once again, as we talked about, Dom and the Arctic Cat did argue a little bit on the track, trying to get them comfortable, but that was jumping into a new platform and a lot of changes and kind of.
And going off of that, looking out from the outside in, if he had another year under his belt, I think he would have adapted a little bit.
I do too,
a little bit more. Because I was up at Cheerings when he was practicing with Kraychek, and I could see that he was finally getting to that stage of comfortability.
Yep.
It doesn't ride like a Skidoo, but it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. And then, we went from the Kraychek prep sled to the all-finish sled, which is a little different. We got right at the end of the season, things were, you got to win. And I think another year would have probably been a positive. Mm-hmm. But, it is what it is. They decided to get out of snowcross racing. And
yeah, that sucks.
It is. It's a bummer to lose a powerhouse like that.
Yeah.
And they brought a unique spin to it. I think their sleds looked good. People liked the look of the sleds. And it was fun.
And people want to know what was it like working with them?
I have nothing negative to say about them. They were more than generous with us. Jamie was great. Everybody, they did the best that they could with what they had. I think there were sometimes parts shortages, but that wasn't their fault.
Yes.
It was it's just the world we live in now.
Yeah. Thanks to COVID.
Chad and Paula Onstead were extremely generous to Dom. And I like I said, I don't have anything negative to say. I was very bummed that they decided to shut down. And
yeah. I think everybody was. Like you said, they were a powerhouse. They brought in so much.
They had infrastructure and tracks and like what they did up in Fargo.
Yeah.
Trying to get the community to come and
He was definitely laying it out there.
He laid it all out there.
I give him credit for that because that's a big move.
It was a big move. Everything was a big move.
Yeah. But in perspective, do you really need to go above and beyond like that? Because if you look at snowcross, it's such a small niche sport.
Yeah.
It's you shouldn't want to spend that kind of money to, one, have your name out there, two, draw in the attention of like, oh, this guy's got money. He's a complete, he's going to go balls to the wall every single year. But keep it a little bit reserved to where.
That's not Chad, though. He's aggressive.
Yeah, and he definitely is.
He's wide open.
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to do this.
But you can do it in terms of we're going to do it right. We're not going to go above our heads, and sink ourselves.
Yeah.
He had that new shop that he was building.
Yeah.
That's done now. There's no more of it.
Oh.
It's just the building sitting in Fargo.
Okay.
With the concrete wall or the cement walls or whatever it is. But that would have been his new race shop.
Yeah.
And now that's completely gone. The track will probably never ever go back to Fargo again, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It was very snowcrossy. It brought that vibe.
That was a great track.
100%.
There was a lot of snow made for that track.
Yeah, what was it? Like 2 million gallons of water?
I think I could be wrong, but I think like Canterbury was 3 million, and I think Fargo was like 13 million.
Holy crap!
I think, and maybe I'm completely off, but it was that big a spread. Whether it's
That's a lot of water.
yeah, it was a lot of water. There was a lot of snow up there.
Yeah.
I mean, they could push up some pretty cool practice tracks too. That was
100%.
kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to that whole perspective thing is like, did you really need to do that? You know, and then look at it from this way is you spend all this money and then you only have 2 years and you're done.
Yeah.
You know, was it really worth it to do that money and not spread it out to a couple more years? I know that Arctic Cat was a big deal in it,
Yeah.
and they didn't really want to bring in the support, but
I don't know. I mean, everybody does things their way, and that was the way that Chad wanted to do it. He was writing the checks. It was
yeah,
hammer down. We're going to do this. Okay, this ain't working. You know, that would be a question for him, but
yeah. But look at all the teams that are established: Juddick,
Oh, yeah.
Shearings, you know, Warner.
those are long term. I mean, you think about like Judnick. Okay, Scott Judnick. I raced Matt Judnick, his son. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember Judnick's racing out of a 24-foot enclosed race trailer.
Right.
Warner's. I raced Pat Warner. That was the son. I remember them racing out of a 24-foot. I mean, they've been around forever.
Yeah. Yeah. But you got to relate it to
Yeah.
moto and everything else that
Yeah.
is established. You know, ice ovals. It's, do you sink this much money, or do you get other corporate sponsors to
Yeah.
come in to help you? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Arctic Cat wasn't helping. I'm not saying that
Right.
cost materials wasn't helping, but try to drive in some more support, so then you are going to be a longevity team.
Yeah.
Because now it's gone. It's history.
Yeah.
They sold the trailer. Benham's going to a different team. It's like everybody's out. What's Jamie Chaney going to do?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's gone.
I know. And it was such a fun group of people.
Yeah.
It makes me smile thinking about last season and, you know, the experience
100%.
that Dom got to have and the experience I got to be part of. And, yeah, it's a bummer, but like I said, everybody does
What they do.
what they do, you know, and that's great. I'm glad they were here for the time they were. And I think
Yeah.
whether they're gone now is still a positive.
Yeah.
A lot of effort put forth. And with the
Maybe
tracks.
they'll, yeah, maybe what if they come back at some point?
Yeah, you never know.
You know? You never know. Some teams do that.
Yeah.
Some people come back. It's crazy.
And,
You know?
well, we could only hope.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully.
Because the biggest thing is we definitely want Arctic Cat here.
Yes. Yes.
And we want Arctic Cat, we want Polaris, we want Ski-Doo, we want all three on the podium. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know if you're a Ski-Doo guy, you want Ski-Doo's only winning, but keep everything healthy is we want all three manufacturers relevant in
Right.
racing.
100%. And not just manufacturers, but other sponsors too.
Right.
You know, because they can only do so much, and they're going to be spread out so much.
Yeah.
But getting more support from other people, I think it is. You know, there's more teams that are family owned rather than corporate owned.
Right.
You know, you look at motocross, supercross, it's teams that are supported by
Oh, right. Twisted
corporate.
Tea, Suzuki.
Yeah.
To bring in that where you have, where the how do I say it? Like, where the race team is a business. It's an advertising business. That you have your hauler and your sponsors. And, you know, to get the sponsors in, you got to have TV time and marketing, social media. It's such a big inner web of trying to sell the dream.
right.
You know, you're trying to sell the Twisted Tea to sponsor my Suzuki race team.
Yep.
That's, but like you said, it's getting to be very much just big family.
And maybe those families have, you know, people that they know in different areas
Right.
that could sponsor them with you know bigger dollars. But what do you see that? Do you see that the sport could eventually get to that point again?
Yes.
Because we're only limited.
Yeah,
Where's Monster gonna go after Hench's closed doors?
Yeah. No, we can. but it's got to be a sellable product. Mm-hmm. And, that's above my pay
Right.
grade.
But you got opinions, right?
Yeah. I don't know. What are we going to be on TV this winter again? Or that's the
Right.
you're the media guy. You're the one that's going to sell it.
I can only do so much, man.
Yeah.
My freaking arms only get so long.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it can get back there.
Yeah.
I do. And I don't know how, but I think it can.
Right. And you mentioned me being media.
Yeah.
I think that has a big push into it too.
Yeah,
the following.
Social media is so big, and to do it right and keep up on it and keep it entertaining. And what is entertaining?
Yeah.
What was entertaining 15 years ago is not entertaining now. I think most people want to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They want to see what the rider's eating, what the rider lounge looks like, what tool did the mechanic grab. They like that stuff.
Right.
People like to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
People like to, and they don't want to see. Well, another thing is people's attention span is short. So you can't have a 15-minute video about what's going on in a trailer. It's got to be a little clip where they look at it on their phone and move on.
Yeah.
But it's got to be something to grab them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big part of it, is just finding that sellable market.
Mm-hmm.
Or getting more in depth with stuff.
Right.
Getting in the trailers, meeting the personalities.
Right.
Getting people to relate.
Would you say the popularity is not helping that at all, or is it?
What do you mean by that?
Like, how many people do you see coming to the races compared to doing flow?
Oh.
We're in a new generation now.
Yeah.
You mentioned, more people are shorter attention spans.
Yeah.
I'm doing as much as I can with people that I know and companies that I'm working with, but how many new kids are getting into the sport?
Right.
And how many people are getting involved into racing?
That's a good point. And we talk about the shorter attention spans, and I'm as diehard into racing as you can be.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to we're not going to talk about snowmobile racing, but let's talk about pro motocross.
100%.
30 minutes plus 2.
Yeah.
I can't. I lose track of what's going on.
Yeah.
And it spreads out the racing so far that you don't have racing.
Right.
So
you have a guy that's going to go and pull the whole shot, and he's going to lead wire to wire.
Right. There's no battle anymore. And that's what I think the coolest thing about our Amazon Dominator that they do once a year, where it's heads up. Mm-hmm. That's the most entertaining racing in the consumer. So let's take you put a Dominator we did it at Fargo or Spear Mountain back in the day. Okay. The fan is there. They watch the race. That was great. It held their attention for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. They walk down. They go get a cold beer.
Yeah.
They come back up. They watch the next one.
Yeah.
And they're engaged.
Right.
When you run that many, like a 20-minute moto or a 20-minute final, you lose track of what's going on.
Yeah.
Even I do.
Right.
So can you imagine what the average consumer is seeing?
I don't even watch pro motocross. I've watched the first 4 rounds, and I'm like, I don't even have any interest in it.
No.
It's like I just go on Facebook, Instagram, and I look on who won. Jet Lawrence won. He's 14-0 right now, and then you got his brother that went down at I don't know whatever the race before Millville, but it's like Deegan is the only entertaining part that I want to see now.
Right.
It's
because they're selling it. But
yeah.
Can you imagine if they did like a motocross Dominator? 1 lap around Millville. Drop the gate wide open, just a drag race to the finish.
Yeah.
Or Red Bull Straight Rhythm.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It's just
you're taking the wheel and you're trying to reinvent it to where it's going to create noise. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you do these, only talk about motocross again, when you take a 30-minute moto, the amount of training physically that's needed to be competitive is only going to go to these elite
riders
that can afford the training that it takes to be that good.
Yeah, and then it trickles down to money.
Yeah.
Whole thing.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think a sellable product is definitely going to be a shorter product like our Dominator races.
Mm-hmm.
And, snowmobile racing always fights the weather thing too.
Oh, yeah, it's very.
That's like Canterbury is great because people can get inside. It's packed. It's awesome. But then Fargo was a struggle.
Yeah.
Because it's Fargo. It's cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wants to stand out there?
Nobody wants to stand out there. And I don't care what. I mean, they open it up for free, and people then come in.
Right. Right.
So Ice Hock's always got that struggle of trying to find these venues that are going to have snow.
Mm-hmm.
And have warm weather, or warmer weather, so people can enjoy it.
Right.
Even like the Iowa race last year, it was in April. I thought, this is crazy, but it turned out okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little gnarly at the end, but they made it work.
Yeah,
The
100%.
ski hill, they were
I didn't think they were going to pull it off.
no, and I thought they did a great job. It was maybe not the track that everybody wanted, but sometimes you don't get the track that everybody wanted.
Right.
And that's what is kind of cool because it will change the racing too.
Yeah. Yeah. You got sleds going down. You got people that were making mistakes because it wasn't a racy track. You know, it's
the mud and the this, and it was entertaining. It's like, oh,
It definitely was.
yeah,
It was a muddy snowcross event.
yeah. So I was all for it. I thought they did a good job. And
So then, what's your take on like a 2-moto format in snowcross instead of doing 2 heats and then a final?
well, that
And then what about the Triple Crown?
I thought the Triple Crown was cool because it switched things up.
Mm-hmm. But what if they did it 1 on the first race, 1 in the middle, and 1 at the end?
Yeah, I think I like it because it breaks up what we've been doing.
Yeah, it
makes
breaks
it
up.
more interesting. 2-moto format, that would depend on that only would work. You'd have to on the amount of riders.
Yeah.
So if let's say you had 20 pros, you couldn't do a 2-moto format because you have to qualify in to do the 2-moto format.
Yeah. But what do you have to? Oh, I understand the whole qualifying thing. But what if you just did? Let's say we had 20 riders,
Yeah.
or 18 riders, whatever the max is on the gate, and then they just race. Let's say Ellie's gets first in the first moto, and then I don't know, Aki gets first in the second one.
Yeah.
There's your overall. But why do you need to qualify?
Well, because it would just like in motocross, it works because they only allow 40 on a gate.
Mm-hmm.
We can't put 40 wide. You
No.
can't put 20 wide.
No.
So you could have, let's say we had 20 riders in pro. You couldn't have 2 rows. It would never be fair. Off the start.
For somebody to take an advantage of the whole shot? Is that what
Yeah,
you're-
because if you're gonna have 2-moto format, all 20 riders have to be on the gate.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna put them? So somebody's got to go in the back row of each moto.
Yeah. Well, they do that now sometimes in Sport Light or Sport or.
Right, they do, but you
Pro Light.
qualify for that position.
Yeah.
So you qualify out of where you finished
So then
to
why
the
not?
final.
So then why don't you do a time qualifying race?
Well, that would work too.
Yeah.
You could do practice be timed.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to throw a heater down.
Yep.
And that would be your gate pick.
Right.
That would work.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as you didn't have 30 riders.
I don't think we'll ever have 30 riders
No.
in pro class.
No. I agree. So it would be a numbers thing. But the time qualifying would work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, because that would set your gate,
Yeah.
and then you'd be able to go wherever you want on the start.
yeah.
But then, realistically, what if a guy that he's in the pro class, but he's not like a top ranked guy,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have a fair chance?
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's always a
But there's-
downside to everything.
Yeah, there is absolutely. Like you look at is it Master Pool?
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude's a straight animal in the 450 class now.
He's always been an animal, though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I remember him
But
on
he's getting
85.
shadowed by the top elites.
He's doing a good job, and he's always been a great rider. But I think there's been personality conflicts
Mm-hmm.
over the years between his family and different teams, and
Right.
so
Right. Yeah. So what else do you think that this sport could enhance on a little bit from your perspective?
well, I mean, there's a room for improvement on everything. my personal opinion is I think our race days are too long, especially for the employees.
Yeah.
Like an ISOC employee that's running flags is 7 to 8 and 7 in the morning to 8 at night.
Yeah.
So maybe like to help out the national program, like maybe even having the underclasses have to qualify in some way to race a national, maybe through the regional series, just to shorten it so there's not 7 heats of transition or whatever.
Yeah.
Have the top 20 transition riders there
Right.
to battle it out.
And that would give, sorry to cut you off. Yeah, go ahead, finish.
Well, no, that would give, it would give your, let's say your beginning transition riders would have to go to a regional and qualify into the national to be a national rider. So they have a goal to work towards, not just come to the national. Shorten our race day up for the employees of the ISOC. They could start working noon, work from noon to 8 if we just had a shorter program. And then it put back into the regional series, so the money would essentially stay. It would just kind of get shifted around.
Right.
It would be a little bit more difficult for the families because they would add more racing to their winter schedule. But you see in other forms of racing where you have to qualify in to be a national racer.
Right.
So
100%. And that would that would ultimately open the door for better racing too, because what if somebody goes down in a heat race, you have ample amount of time to get that going. You're not like fighting the schedule of live stream or trying to keep up on the races.
Yeah, I mean, I understand entry fees also pay the bill and everything, but that's what I'm saying. If you shifted it to regionals, it'd still be going to ISOC. And give people something to race towards.
Right.
So, and I don't know where the cutoff would be. What would it be, sport or sport light or just the younger? I don't know the answer to that question, but the day is too long. And somehow I think that you need to qualify in would be a better way to do things. Or a different way. Maybe not better. I could be wrong.
Sometimes change is good.
Yeah.
Whether it's for the good or bad, but you won't ever know if you don't try it.
Right.
And Robbie kind of mentioned to me when he was on the podcast is like ISOC is a beast of a format or of a program, and you got to feed that beast.
Yes.
But there's got to be other ways to feed it than just staying in the same old position,
Yeah.
that where it was. Like I'd never attended a WSA race. I don't know how it was back then. I can only do so much research, but you were in it for a little while. Was it the same format as it is today?
Well, it was just a different era back then because, the late 90s, early 2000s, people were really into extreme sports.
Right.
In motorsports and stuff like that. And we've had to kind of fizzle off from that. So there was so many riders that they could support the under events or underclass events like the district and the regionals. The national program, I felt like it was shorter back then. It was I don't remember being like, it started out being really big. Then they tried to shorten up the program.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And get people to go, the underclasses to go race elsewhere. So,
just keep it a pro show.
Yeah, but I don't know, like that's all dollars and cents. I mean, can they afford to drive groomers across the country and build tracks and all this stuff for just a pro show?
Right.
Without the transition kids and all that gate money and stuff like that. So.
Right.
It's easy for us to sit here and shop in Princeton and try to figure it out, but there's bills to pay too. So
100%. Yeah, there's 100 other employees that work for ISOC, and they got to get paid too. My biggest thing is like ISOC, and I love ISOC. I love all the people that work there. I'm friends with all of them. Carl, Miranda, everybody.
Yep.
But it's when they lost Ram and Tucker Hibbert kind of retired after that, that was kind of the downslope of the sponsorship deals.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Ram left in 2021? 2020, somewhere around there. It was.
They weren't here last year.
No, they weren't. They weren't here the year before.
We've only been here for 3 years, so I don't really know.
I think it was the year that you guys jumped in.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2 years after Hibbert left.
Okay.
And I do believe he left in 2017 or 18, one of those 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, Dodge departed from the sport, and then now what's going to happen to Pertec? It's like you got to look at it. What can we do? Like you said, marketing. What can we do to bring these people in? I know that they want their ORI into the sport and what they're going to get it back, but do something different.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And I'm sure they got a whole group of people trying to figure out what's the next best thing.
I don't know. You know, I see it from both sides of the scale when they started doing the truck racing.
Yeah.
You know, now they lost tire sponsors. They lost, Dodge. They lost a good chunk of people, but was it because they weren't marketing right? And my perspective is everybody that sees what I'm doing, I get hand claps, I get handshakes, I get a whole bunch of stuff from other people that are like, you're doing so much more for the sport than snowcross is.
Yeah.
Not saying that snowcross isn't doing a good job, but I'm putting out material that is going throughout the summertime, throughout the wintertime, And I think that would help sponsorships.
Oh, yeah, no, it does. It's what is sellable.
Because you guys ride FXR, and I'm not saying that FXR isn't just a one-season company, but they're dove into a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, they're definitely really deep into motocross right now.
Yeah, they just sponsored Millville.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, 100%. But that's like what I think the sport should do in a whole, in a way.
Well, maybe they can get in on the next board meeting.
I hope. But listening from you guys too, because you guys are here to help the sport grow too. Like you got to take that into consideration. It's like different ideas.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to be around and be relevant and be growing and getting 200 riders and families involved and so I don't know what the sellable product is, and we have it. Everything could always be better, but how do you find that betterness? I think the shorter races, like we talked about, dominators, all that stuff is super cool.
Yeah.
TV time.
Yeah.
Who knows?
100%. 100%.
Or as a society, are we changing? Obviously as a society, we're changing. So we need to try to find that group, the next people that are.
Yeah, and that would lead into like you said, the shorter attention spans. You gotta engage with people.
Yeah.
You gotta have that excitement, and I know the drama is not always good, but sometimes you look at F1. Look at F1. I don't know if you're an avid F1
I'm not. Never watch it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay.
But I
know there's a lot of hype behind it, but
Well, what they did is they went on to Netflix.
Yeah.
Their numbers were dropping heavily.
Okay.
Before they went on Netflix, and then Netflix brought them up.
Okay.
Because it, like you were saying earlier, is getting behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They started doing that, and then they started blowing up.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about F1, and it's just like, you can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere.
Oh, yeah, in Vegas soon.
Right.
We'll be racing in Vegas. That's this year.
Right. Exactly. So it's like they are in a different niche, in a different market than other people, and they're doing what they need to do. I'm not. You can't compare the two to NASCAR, or the one to NASCAR, but I feel like NASCAR's kind of
that's been on a downward slide for a while.
Yeah, but they need. I'm sure they will find their area of where they're gonna freaking flies. Jesus. When I did the podcast with Ryan Frank, we had flies everywhere. It was
terrible.
bad. Yeah, but back to the NASCAR thing, I'm sure they're gonna find their way up again. It just takes time, but it's just doing it. Trial and tribulations is what it is.
And like I said, maybe behind the scenes at ISOC, they're doing it.
I've heard they're trying to get on TV.
Oh, TV's cool.
Yeah, like actually being on TV, like I don't know if it would be Mav TV, but it like broadcasting it live on TV like ESPN back in the day.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, that was super cool.
But let's get away from snowcross here.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of diving way too deep into this.
Yeah.
Dom qualified for Loretta Lynn's.
Yeah,
let's go into that.
We're well, okay, so this year was supposed to be, he's got his pro card for motocross. We were supposed to be
That's pretty cool.
doing 4 or 5 rounds of pro outdoors. That was the plan. At the end of snowcross season, a bunch of the snowcross kids like, hey, let's all go to Loretta's. So we shifted gears and we started prepping for Loretta's. And as soon as the snow went away, we took a couple weeks off, and then we dug full deep. We were down in Oklahoma training and
Jeez.
a bunch of stuff. And we started that whole adventure, and I think it's down to where it's Dom and Tanner Johnson are the only 2 snowcross racers going to Loretta's. I think Emmerich qualified, but I don't know if he's going.
Okay.
But of all these people that were going to, it got down to just
the 2 of them.
Dom and Tanner, the 2 all-Finnish kids.
That's funny.
So, but they, the Johnsons put in a real solid effort for motos. It's just like snowcross. You got to be present and moving around the country, and
100%.
And Tanner's a good rider, and Dom made it in, and so here we go down to the ranch again.
That's
which is
crazy.
cool because, like, we like going there. It's a super fun week of racing. Even when he's not on the track, you can jump on your golf cart, ride up to the track, and there's always good racing.
Right.
Whether it's, 85cc class or vet class.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the best of the best.
100%.
And they're all battling, and it's good racing. So
Yeah.
it's a fun week.
I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. I've heard it's super hot.
It is.
Yeah.
Hot and humid. Bring lots of shirts.
Yeah. But it always seems like there's something always going on.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's a fun moto vacation.
And you got the pond. What is it, a pond or a
It's
river?
a creek.
Creek?
Yeah, it's a river or whatever. It's
Yeah.
super nice, though. It's constantly flowing, and it's nice and cool.
Yeah.
You go sit in the lawn chair and sit in the creek. So, yeah,
Bring a floaty if you want.
yeah, it's a good time.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So then when do you guys leave?
We're leaving next Wednesday.
Wow.
And we'll be on for, a week and a half.
What is that? How long is it to get to?
17 hours, I think.
Well, that ain't bad.
No, it's not too
That ain't
bad.
bad. That's as long as it would take to get to Salamanca.
Yeah. It might be a little bit. It's about 17. Towing a trailer, that goes. You pour
Yeah.
fuel and this and that. And
Yeah.
so.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
So he's doing 250.
Nope, we're doing
or
college boy class.
Yep.
So we, his goal was to qualify for that class. He nailed it. We actually didn't even do our final round of 250 qualifying. So
Wow. And he's racing a 250.
252 stroke in the college boy class. So it's a bit adventurous because the bike is a little slower off the start. Once it's rolling though, he does good on it. Sacrifices a little bit on the start.
Yeah. Do a lot of guys run the 250s? No, it's all 450s.
Yeah, the 450s are fast.
Yeah.
I mean, they pull so hard on that 2-stroke.
Is that thing fuel injected?
No, it's a carb one.
That's carb one?
Yeah.
Jeez.
We had 2 fuel injected bikes, and they didn't work very well for us.
No?
No.
Huh.
So
That's
we went back to the
interesting.
carbureted ones.
And do you guys use the Electron carb?
No, we run stock carb.
Stock. Okay.
The stock KTM gas setups they're solid units. They're good bikes. So.
They got their shit on lock.
Yeah, I like KTM Gas Husky, all the same company.
Yeah.
I like their products. They just make sense. They're easy to work on. They come solid.
But they're expensive.
They are. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's true.
They're race ready. It says right in their manuals, and you can take a bone stock KTM and go race it. And be competitive.
That's insane. That's insane.
I mean, all the bikes are competitive, but I'm a KTM fanboy, so
yeah.
I'm all about it.
Was that I can't remember if that's what you said that you bought when you first started racing
No, I
bikes.
was a Suzuki kid back then.
Suzuki?
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Two different.
Yeah, well, it was a different era. There wasn't back then. KTM's were not the bike to have.
No.
They were a
No.
little clumsy, but
Wasn't that the era of Jeremy McGrath? Was it?
yeah, it was McGrath and Carmichael, and so
That's sweet. So, what's the end goal for you guys?
pro.
Yeah, on dirt bikes and sleds.
No, dirt bikes is a hobby.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to go race pro, but that's just for fun. Mm-hmm. His goal is to be a pro snowcrosser. And we're 1 year behind right now. We want to be in pro light by now, but
Yeah.
with the setbacks of last year, and
Okay.
we're going to do another year of sport. And
Nice.
see
Is
how-
is that both of your guys' goals? Well, because
I
you guys started 3 years ago.
yeah,
Pro is huge.
yeah, it is. And I don't mean to. He's capable. I mean,
He's got the talent.
He's got his pro card in moto, which is a really gritty chain of events to get there. If you go through the, you can write a letter to the AMA and they can approve you if you're Hayden Deegan. But if you're a normal kid, you have to go race pro-rams. Mm-hmm. You got to acquire so many points, and then you earn a pro card.
Right.
So as far as snowcross, I would say the goal is to go to being pro. Mm-hmm. And that would be, we want to accelerate that as fast as we can.
Right. It's cool that you guys are focusing on snowcross rather than just doing the dirt bike thing.
Yeah, like I said, dirt bikes is fun.
Yeah.
That's just, and we just do it, and we
And it's
take it serious, but we know the realities behind it.
Right.
It's to be a upper level motocrosser is very tough. Mm-hmm. So
The field is so stacked.
yeah, everyone pulls out of the whole country. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good riders.
100%.
You
And
know,
not even just in the States. There's people coming out of the States.
Yeah. So
Outside.
yeah, no, snowcross is the goal. To do well at that, we like it. We like the people. We like traveling and going places. So we're all in.
You like the cold too?
It don't bother me.
No.
It doesn't bother me a bit. No. It. I just dress for it and deal with it. We're not out that much. We're everybody's in their trailers.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Right. I know. I don't understand people that complain about it.
No. I mean not talking about back in my day, but it was different back then. We were out more. I mean, I started racing on an open bed trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So you were out in the cold, but
Yeah.
nowadays these kids got it nice.
With the leather zip-up jackets.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. I remember when I got my first warm-up coat. It's like, this thing's sweet.
Right? It's like you look like Austin Powers in that thing when he's got.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So pro it is, huh? Are you guys gonna go? Are you guys gonna stay in pro light as long as you can before you go pro, or are you gonna win a couple championships?
I have no idea.
No.
I mean,
I'm sure. Well, championship is definitely the winning ticket to
Yeah.
exceed the next step.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do whatever we got to do to make it that far and align ourselves with the right people and see what we can do.
Yeah.
But sport this year, hopefully that goes good, and then pro light the year after and see where that takes us. He's only 18, so we got some time.
Jeez. Pro card at 18.
Actually, he had that at 16.
He had his pro card at
Yeah, he had
16?
So last summer he didn't ride because of the broken back, and the end of the season, summer before, is when he got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, the broken back thing really kind of delayed everything.
Yeah, he had that during snowcross, right? Yeah, that was at
landed on.
yeah, at what race? Deadwood? No.
That was at Michigan.
Oh, at Canonsburg?
Yeah. Last lap of the last race of the year.
That sucks.
It's kind of a bummer, but
Yeah, that's
came out of it okay.
It's an absolute defeat.
Yeah.
But wow. So you guys got some big goals.
Big goals.
It's good though. That's awesome.
In or out. That's like people ask. I'm like, well, we're here to do this. If it doesn't work, it wasn't meant for us, and we'll move on.
Right. 100%. You guys could always come back too.
Yeah.
Have some more fun.
Yeah.
Not take it so seriously.
Yeah.
Or just do some mountain riding. You guys ever do mountain riding?
Dom's been out mountains a couple times with me, but not now. We're busy with everything else. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure you can't take that much time away from training because it's.
Yeah, snowcross is you get into the midst of the winter, it's a full-time deal. You're either getting ready to go racing, coming back from going racing, or fixing everything that you broke when you were racing.
Right.
So.
Right.
And then at some point you got to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that whole job thing too.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you guys going to practice at Shearing's? Are you guys going to
yeah,
go to
for sure.
ERX a lot?
We're going to do
Since-
Shearing's preseason,
Yeah.
and then ERX
All season long.
all season long, because that's super close and convenient and
Mm-hmm.
should work pretty good.
Sweet. Sweet.
So I
Well-
think we practice 1 or 2 times a week
Mm-hmm.
during the season, and then probably spend a month up at Shearing's.
Mm-hmm. What, are you just going to rent out one of the houses up there?
We kind of bounce around.
Okay.
Like, generally what, Dom usually stays in the trailer a lot of times.
At the track?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll stay in the trailer. Then we get a room for a couple nights. Then we stay in the trailer, and it really depends. And then
Save
he
some
kind of,
money.
like last year, he'd leave Friday morning and come home because it gets really busy on the weekend.
Yeah.
And go back out Monday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to touch on?
Nah,
All good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Well,
Answer all your questions.
yeah, you definitely did. And we got some good insight, I do believe. I like that you raced too. It's not just Dom raced. you
Yeah.
know,
No,
and
I've spent a lot of time at the track.
Yeah.
racing myself. So.
It's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And it's cool
It
that
was
you're...
kind of fun. Here's a little side note. Like last year, I'll finish. I raced Anson's dad, raced with Anson's dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I raced with Danny Benham's dad. So like, Danny Benham Sr. was a really good racer
Yeah.
back in the day. And I remember Danny Benham, like, when he was born, like coming to the track in a baby bucket.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Dan Benham Sr. was the king of head games. Like, he had messed with me so bad.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it was just terrible. Like,
So he was like the Jason Anderson?
yeah,
kind
he
of
just,
type?
like, he wouldn't come to he'd be hiding at the riders' meeting.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't think he's there. He'd be parked in the back. And all of a sudden, you line up, and there he is. It's like, oh,
Not this guy
God dang
again.
it. What are you doing here? You got kids. You shouldn't be racing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, yeah, Dan Benham Sr., he'd whoop my ass.
That's funny. What about Anson? Or Shield, I mean.
Shield was always a class up for me. So
Yeah.
He was pro. But,
So you're kind of trying to chase him.
yeah, he was around. Aaron's
Uh-huh.
always been a good
What
dude.
about Brad Pake? Or was that before you?
Brad Pake was pro, too, so I didn't really know Pake very
Okay.
well. He was a big deal.
Yeah. He was a front runner, I do believe.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pake was a front runner. Shield was a front runner. They were all...
And now they're doing the sprint car stuff.
That's what I heard, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Over
I
in
guess he's pretty
Fargo.
good at driving them things.
I don't know.
Sprint cars are cool.
Yeah, they are wicked cool.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of the World of Outlaws. I've been to the one in Fargo,
Yeah.
right there.
That's a good one.
Yep. I've been to Knoxville.
I remember I went to World of Outlaws and I brought my grandpa. My grandpa was super conservative, straight-laced guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they come out for time trials, right?
Yeah.
The first one came out and went around and sprayed dirt on himself, and he went, "Holy shit!" Just like, whoa.
Like he'd never been to one?
He'd never been to a World of Outlaw race.
That's
so, yeah,
crazy.
he thought it was pretty cool.
That is wicked. My first time, I was just like, I was like shocked at how crazy these dudes are.
I know.
And of course, my first race was at Knoxville,
Oh, yeah.
and there was a freaking car
Yeah.
just flipping right beside me. I'm like, holy
and it's so
crap.
crazy when they flip. They're so light that they slow down in the air. They like
Mm-hmm.
float for a second almost.
Yeah. Yeah. But then with the big balloony tires, they like kind of bounce
Yeah.
again, Those guys are nuts.
It's a cool sport.
It is wicked cool. It is wicked cool. The open wheel stuff is
Yeah.
like not
I like. You get behind the scenes of that. Them guys are diehards. It's the driver.
Yeah.
There's the 3 on a team,
Mm-hmm.
and they race. Their schedule's so demanding. I mean, they race like 3-4 nights a week sometimes, traveling across the
Oh
country.
yeah. Yeah.
So they gotta be prepped.
Yeah, there's if you do the World of Outlaws, I think it's like 24 weekends or something
Yeah.
like that. 36. It's something heavy.
Yeah,
It is heavy. And then they go from the West Coast to the East Coast.
yeah,
You
right
know.
across the country.
Yeah, right across. You're barely even home,
No, they're not home.
you know? I love, personally, the hotel life. I love the hotel life.
Yeah.
I don't like flying anymore. I used to love flying. When I was here for my first season, I would be on a plane every freaking weekend.
Okay.
You know, going from here to home. I was born and raised in New York. I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
But the traveling thing, going to a hotel, it's like, that's cool.
You like that?
Yeah, I love that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think we do too. It's fun. It's really fun to get a hotel with everybody in it.
Yeah.
Like last year, Michigan, there was a good group at the hotel we were at, and they had a foosball table, and it was pretty cool. The best foosball player in all of ISOC is Steve Hool.
Really?
The guy is amazing with foosball. It was the most entertaining thing I've watched.
That's funny.
Well, not most entertaining, but it was funny.
Uh-huh.
Like, he's definitely good at foosball.
Huh. Foosball's a tricky.
Yeah. I didn't even try.
No?
Nope. I'm out.
I'm not bad at it. It's like getting my hands to coordinate.
Yeah.
You know, that's the hard part. Is to watch. You got to watch the ball, and then you got to watch what freaking things
Yeah.
you're doing. You know.
Yeah,
But-
that's pretty cool.
That's cool. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just going to do an outro here and
Sure.
we'll be good. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this episode 14 of the Vignette podcast. Like I said, Dan Hegman, dad of Don Hegman. If you don't know these guys, you should really hit them up on Instagram and Facebook. They're, you know, up and coming in the sport. Great personalities. Dom is huge on the dirt bikes. He's super talented, as you guys can see on a sled too. He's super talented. But yeah, this is episode 14. I appreciate everybody watching, tuning in. If you're on YouTube, hit that follow button. If you're on all the other streaming platforms, hit that follow button, hit that like button. Leave a comment below on what episode you guys want to see next, and I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yep.